Hey to everyone, it's Tom Kissack, author of Jonathan's Tales, Volume 1 available through me until released on Amazon next year. Volume 2 available on Amazon now, and Volume 3 will be available on Amazon very soon. Well, Yuletide 2025 has now passed into history, and those that celebrate this festival, I trust you had a beautiful time with family and friends. Now, and frighteningly so, I use words dramatically owing to the fact that time seems to be flying by. 2026 is upon us, and we're not far off February. How frightening. So, what's all the buzz in my current literary promotion? Incidentally, "What's the buzz" is an idiom that was reviewed in the epic tale The Spiky Shell and the Star, Video 4. Well, the buzz is we are just past halfway through reviewing the 61 idioms, phrases, sayings, and proverbs that enrich the story narrative of the 8th tale in Jonathan's Tale, Volume 2. A super funny but also gifting much knowledge to the reader story called The Cactus and the Tree. There are actually 3 sayings arising in the video narrative from part 3 that will feature as the first point of business. Then we may review note 33 to note 37 in the book. I'm drooling at the prospect of pouncing on these beautiful idioms. Excuse me. So let us have a look at the idiom, phrases, etc. we'll be reviewing today. To go over old ground, putting a spotlight on something, something to die for, to get out of hand, to get one's penny's worth in. This is dandy, jumping on the bandwagon, and something just around the corner, figuratively. The first of these 3 phases arising in the video narration in part 3 was to go over old ground. This phrase in essence means to discuss or revisit topics, issues, or subjects that have already been talked about before, often without adding anything new. To elaborate more, the part 3 video narration was speaking about idioms we have already reviewed. Slide 5 provides 2 other examples of going over old ground. The next saying to consider is putting the spotlight on something. To put the spotlight on something means to draw special attention, focus, or emphasis to it, making it more visible or prominent, often to highlight its importance, expose an issue, or bring it to public notice. Much like a theatre spotlight highlights a performer or actor on the stage. It's used idiomatically to bring subject, problems, or people out of obscurity and into public view for examination or discussion. Excuse me. And this slide gives due explanation in further illustrations of this phrase seemingly from the world of theatre. And my final phrase arising in the video narration was something to die for. What an interesting saying this is. In some respects, it seems tongue-in-cheek. The latter saying, tongue-in-cheek, was dealt with in the review of the beautiful story, The Parrot and the Woodpecker, video 3. And yet, let us explore its meaning and drill down to its essences. If you say that something is to die for, you mean that you want it or like it very much. It is, of course, an informal statement. It may be that your property has an absolutely stunning view, or perhaps it has a kitchen or bathroom to die for. I do adore, love, and wish often to employ this phrase in my everyday speech, as you should too, given the opportunity. Slide 9 bestows the reader two other interesting examples of to die for. Now, having given due attention to my, I confess, innate loquaciousness, what a beautiful word, in the last video narration, we can turn to the book and to note 33, something that gets out of hand. We must, as usual, revert to the book storyline to catch the essence of this phrase. And in reading this next passage in the book, we will also pass by note 34 to turn something on its head. Note 35 to put your penny's worth in. And note 36, this is dandy. And actually note 37, to jump on the bandwagon. So let's go to the story text. Needles, seeing matters might get out of hand, knowing his headstrong friend very well, decided to intervene. But he was initially diverted as loyalty took the easy route of supporting his friend. The problem was, not having a clue what an acorn was, he blurted out accusingly, "Well, that wasn't nice of you, dropping a rock on Spike and me." However, Needles was always a negotiator and added, "Besides, as Spike has already asked, what are you doing here anyway?" "That, my multi-pronged friend, is a rather perplexing question, as I actually don't know how to answer it directly." The oak tree briefly paused before continuing. "Well, I know why I'm here, but I must rather turn your question on its head. I ask myself, why are you here?" Spike, still fuming about the acorn attack, now got his additional pennyworth in. "Well, this is dandy. Would you mind pushing off? You must know it's our desert." The oak tree frowned at hearing this, and then cast his glance around, before raising his eyebrows quizzically to reply, "Well, it doesn't look much like a desert to me, actually." "What do you mean?" interjected Needles indignantly, now jumping on the bandwagon in support of Spike. "Do open your eyes, my spiky friends. From my viewpoint, there's a lot of mud around. That's not what I would describe with any accuracy as a desert. Both cacti looked around slowly, taking in the unfamiliar environment. Spike was quite dumbfounded. Needles, his face full of confusion, replied in a conciliatory tone, a tone casually masking his rising horror. Oh, yeah, you're right. There is, you will see in future videos reviewing this epic tale, a lot of tension between the protagonists of this story. The protagonists, two cacti, a scorpion, a majestic English oak tree, and actually a porcupine. And yet it has a beautiful ending. The book lists of notes describes note 33 as something getting out of hand, as a situation becoming chaotic and unmanageable. And slide 11 provides more examples of a situation getting out of hand. Note 34 in the book, to turn something on its head, was reviewed in the Spiky Shell and the Star video 7. So we might turn to note 35 to get one's penny's worth in. This is described at the book's end as to share one's opinion or idea or point of view, regardless of whether others want to hear it. And slide 13 gives the reader 2 extra scenarios on getting one's penny's worth in. Slide 14 draws us to note 36. This is dandy. It is a North American informal saying meaning excellent. Excuse me. Excuse me again. Slide 15 provides other illustrations of this delightful phrase, and I could not resist delving into its origins. The phrase "this is dandy" originates from the 19th century use of dandy, the word that is, which was originally a slang term meaning something excellent or pleasing. Etymologically speaking, the term dandy itself came from the late 18th century, primarily used to describe a man who places particular importance on physical appearance and style. By the mid-19th century, dandy evolved into a broader expression, reflecting approval or satisfaction, and is often used in a light-hearted or informal manner. Overall, "this is dandy" captures a sense of joy or contentment, reflecting cultural attitudes towards leisure and enjoyment during its time of popularity. The next notation, note 37, to consider is to jump on the bandwagon, or get on the bandwagon, explained at the book's end as to join an activity that has become extremely popular, or to change your opinion to one that has indeed become extremely popular, so that you can share its success. Slide 17 delivers 2 more examples of this interesting phase. And of course, I'm driven to explore its historical roots. Well, it is fascinating. The phrase "jumping on the bandwagon" has its origins in the late 19th century, excuse me, specifically in American politics and entertainment. The term originates from the literal bandwagon, which referred to a wagon that carried a band during a parade or circus. Politicians would use these wagons to attract crowds and gain support. Rather underhand, don't you think? In the 1840s, politicians would often invite audiences to climb aboard the bandwagon to enjoy the music and festivities, symbolizing alignment with popular sentiments or movements. By the late 19th century, the phrase began to be used figuratively to describe people who support popular cause or trend, simply because it is fashionable or successful, rather than out of genuine interest. I could, if push comes to shove, be cajoled into reviewing the next note 38, knee-jerk reaction in the book, but that would also entail reading the storyline and introducing two other notes, which would render the video too long. So as an alternative strategy, we now have in the video narration, my speaking, cross paths with three sayings. They're quite nice, actually. I really like them. Just around the corner, time is flying. And just now I've used another, if push comes to shove. So let us finish our business today on the first of these, something being just around the corner. Used in its figurative sense, meaning something is going to happen very soon, is imminent, or is approaching in the near future, often implying a positive change or a significant up-and-coming event, like holidays, success, or a new season. It extends the literal idea of a nearby physical location, like a shop down the street, to a point in time, suggesting anticipation and closeness. Slide 19 enables further understanding of this seemingly rather transparent statement. Well, that concludes part 4 of reviewing the idioms, phrases, etc. of the hilarious 8th tale, The Cactus and the Tree, in Jonathan's Tales, Volume 2. On review of today's business, did we not pass by some interesting phrases, several having their etymological origins in North America, but having usage also this side of the pond in the UK, I mean, and the pond meaning the Atlantic, and one from the world of theatre, putting a spotlight on. We ended up from the book's viewpoint of reviewing 5 idioms, although one was going over old ground. In part 5, we'll start with the 2 phrases arising in the narrative, not yet reviewed. The delightful saying, time is flying, but if push comes to shove. But then when we progress to the notations in the book, there are some gorgeous ones. Well, in my opinion, namely, knee-jerk reaction, up to the brim, to take matters into one's own hands, and in a jiffy, the latter one I really love, and more if we have the time. For now, I'll bid you farewell. Moi is in high excitement, as my American publishers have said on a call just 30 minutes previously. Jonathan's Tales, Volume 3, will be published next week. So now I need to think about Volume 4, already written, to get it also ship-shape and in Bristol fashion for publishing also. Shipshape and Bristol fashion is an enchanting nautical phrase we must also include in review next time. So, goodbye until part 4 and keep warm. Well, for those in my neck of the woods, the saying dealt with in the Spiky Shell and the Star video 2. And also keep safe and have happiness in your heart always. Bye bye for now.